Watchmen. Welcome back to Comic-Jutsu. JT McRoberts here with you once again. And here's another episode for our crazy comic collectors out there. Because this week, sliding in hot on the Comics Hot 10, according to Key Collector, that is, coming in at number 8, we've got issue number 1 of Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons' seminal comic book series, The Watchmen. That's right. We've got a cover date of September 1986, but it actually hit the stands on May 13th, 1986. I remember seeing this in the old spinner rack at the Rite Aid, picked it up. The cover itself stood out to me because it didn't have the typical, tableau of fighting villains and heroes or someone talking to the potential reader or whatnot. It was just this close-up image that made you ask questions. This brilliant piece of storytelling right here on the cover. I remember picking it up, looking at it, flipping through it, and going, you know what? This looks weird. I'm going to put it back. Plus, it had I was going to say it had the label, the suggested for mature readers label, but I guess it doesn't on there. But anyway, I put it back down. For me at the time, somebody who was used to and had a preference for like the dynamic art of guys like John Byrne and Art Adams and that sort of thing. It didn't appeal to me. It wasn't until I grew older, more matured, that I appreciated the sophistication and the subtleties and nuance of Dave Gibbons' artwork and his storytelling. So, of course, this is issue number 1 of a 12-issue maxi-series, or whatever they called them at the time. This is Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons' classic take on the newly acquired DC heroes from Charlton Comics. The Question, Captain Atom, Thunderbolt, Nightshade, Peacemaker, Blue Beetle. Just so many brilliant, innovative storytelling techniques in this thing. I didn't get the chance to read it until after it was collected in the initial graphic novel publication, like a year later. But I didn't read it until maybe 2 years after that. Yeah, maybe 2.5 years after that. My buddies Tony and Will, they're like, hey, you got to read this Watchmen. This was at the time when I was, growing tired of the comic books on the stand and the kind of made for children pablum that was being spewed out month after month. And I just wanted better storytelling and better stories. And they said, you got to read The Watchmen. I sat down and I read The Watchmen. I borrowed Tony or Will's graphic novel. I don't know. Back in those days, we kind of had a collective of comic books. These issues would just appear, and then they would float through all of us. So that graphic novel got passed around through everybody, but I think it was actually Tony's. I read it, was instantly drawn into it once I sat down and gave it my full undivided attention. And, I've probably spent the next 30 years trying to understand it and unlock it, because at times it can be a challenging read. But as a storyteller, I mean, this is like mother's milk. I mean, there are so many innovations and brilliant techniques on display in this book. It's just it's mind-blowing. I love revisiting it. I don't really have a preferred format. I guess I need to get a hold of like the Absolute Watchmen collection. I do have the trade paperback, which I guess that's normally actually what I read it in. I just pick up the trade paperback and flip through it because it reprints all of this, not back matter, but these connecting pieces that fill out, bits of the backstory and the universe in greater detail. So all that is collected in the actual graphic novel collection itself. Even all the way to the back, it was just innovative, just so different at the time. Of course, it features the first appearance of Rorsharch, Dr. Manhattan, Ozymandius, Silk Spectre, the Comedian, and Night Owl. The reason it's landing on the Hot 10 this week is because Warner Brothers recently announced an animated feature or series. I mean, hopefully it's not just a typical, 2-hour feature. I mean, something like this really needs some time devoted to it. I'm actually a big fan of Zack Snyder's adaptation. For as many things that he got wrong about it, he got twice as many things right. So I really appreciate it, and I like to watch it in its uncut version, with all of the pieces put into it, and even with the cartoon, the what's it called, the Black Sail, Legend of the Black Sail story used in between as interconnective tissue. So much greatness here. I started grabbing these single issues probably a year or two after I read it. And at the time, even though the book itself was lauded and hailed as being this masterpiece, you can still, find the issues in dollar boxes and back issue bins at reasonable prices, $2, $3, $4, $5, just depending on the actual issue. And now, if you're lucky enough to have one that is graded and slabbed, which I'm not a big fan of slabbing, but if people are looking to make money, make it however you have to make it. If you've got something at 9.8, the price is going up nowadays, topping out around 725, the average median about 654, and something as low as a 9.2 you can still command a really good price for, maybe 122 as opposed to the average of $82. But if you look around, this is a good investment. You can still find these issues in the raw, out in the wild. Maybe not in the dollar box anymore, but you can still nab it for a decent price on the out of the back issue bins. And with the animated series being announced, interest in this is only going to go up, 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 up. So that makes this a good candidate for grabbing it and flipping it. Or if you're like me, just hold on to your well-read copy, file it away, put it in a bag and a board, get your graphic novel off the shelf and read that. Instead, my copy is pretty beat up. At best, it's probably a mid-range copy, so it's not going to go for a whole lot. But, there are very few really rare issues that I try to sell and flip like that, unless they just explode immediately. Usually, if it's something that I really enjoy and appreciate, I just keep it in my collection. So, this is for you to decide. Number 8 in the Hot 10. Thanks for watching Comic-Jutsu. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Do all that stuff. Find my link tree down below. Pick up my graphic novel once it hits the stands. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you back here in the Comic Book Dojo next time. Mate.